Join the Discord, link down in the description. Thank you. So it has come to my attention that people have started to realize how strong the Strand Warlock class is for PvP, with bigger YouTubers such as Cammy Cakes and Eat Your Waffles making good videos about the class. I figured I should weigh in and make an updated build guide, seeing as I've been maining this class for the past 9 months, so let's get into it. Starting off with our first aspect and the most important one, Weave Walk. This aspect is a very strong part of the Brood Weaver's kit, and is the reason that this class is so strong. It is an in-air ability that will turn you into this ghost-like form. Whenever you're in this form, a threadling will perch onto you every about half a second or so, up to 5. Then when you do damage to somebody, the threadlings will jump off and attack them. Now this is amazing and overall is great for applying pressure, but the real reason you're using Weave Walk is for the fact that you get 90% damage reduction when you're in this form, which is super crazy with all the ability spam that is currently going on in the game right now. And though you can't shoot in this form, it is still crazy for playmaking potential. Now keep in mind that being frozen or suspended can take you out of the Weave Walk, as well as your movement speed is capped, so you can't move any faster no matter how much mobility you have or you're wearing transversals. It is capped and you can only move a certain speed. Now to use Weave Walk, you need to use your melee charges and it will slowly drain it while you're in the Weave Walk. So let's talk about the melee charges real quick because it is very important. Now with the melee, the more charges that you have, the faster the next one will charge. So what I mean by this is, for example, if you have tier 3 strength, when you get your first melee back, it will take 1 minute and 37 seconds. Then your second melee will come back in 1 minute and 4 seconds. And then your last melee will come back in 38 seconds. Now, this is very important for keeping Weave Walk uptime. You want to try to hold at least 1 melee at all times. Now, in terms of cooldowns, I stood in a private match and tested all of them out from tier 7 and up, so you don't have to. So I'll put these on screen now, but the way we're going to be able to get our abilities even faster is with our exotic of choice, Eye of Another World. This will lower the cooldown of our abilities even more, and I stood in a private match and tested it all out, so here are the Eye of Another World timers. With all these timers, honestly, if you're not using Eye of Another World and you're wanting to use Ophidian Aspects or Transversive Steps, I would make sure to have tier 10 strength. I wouldn't vary away from it at all, but if you are using Eye of Another World, I would recommend tier 8 to tier 10, depending on how much cooldown you need. Maybe just watch your gameplay, see how much you really are using the ability, and just go from there. For the second aspect, we're going to be using Weaver's Call. This will send out 3 threadlings plus any that are perched onto you when you cast your Rift. This is very strong for pushing players back and forcing them to, either back up or get nuked. And this is so strong because you can cast it out of your Weave Walk, making for a very safe escape. Whenever you're in your Weave Walk, you go around the corner, pop your Rift, and you just nuke anybody that pushes you, making for a guaranteed kill or a trade if you get a little bit unlucky. Also, this aspect is very nice. It got a bit of a buff, so whenever you defeat a target with strand damage, that being weapon or ability, it has a chance to give you a threadling that will perch onto you, just making for a little bit more threadlings. In terms of the grenade, I used the threadling grenade for a very, very long time. Honestly, in the Titan meta, I thought it was better to help flush them out from behind their shields or just hit them for damage while I push them. But nowadays, with hunters being, the main meta with all their little clones running around, clone will actually take the aggro from the threadlings, making them less effective. So I've opted to start using the grapple now. And the grapple overall is very, very strong, adding an extra movement to the kit. It helps you get away or get to spawns a lot quicker. Overall, just a fantastic grenade. Plus the melee does a decent chunk of damage, good for pushing, especially if you're, running at somebody who doesn't have a shotgun. Overall, just a fantastic grenade. But if you want to use the threadling grenade for a little bit more pressure, I still think it is good, especially if you're not playing a whole bunch of hunters. Real quick, if you are enjoying the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. It does help out with the channel a lot. Dim link also down in the description of the video. Thank you so much. In terms of fragments, the first one is Thread of Evolution. This is the most important fragment. Not only does it make it so your threadlings do a little bit more damage, the more important part is it makes them travel further and overall makes them smarter. I'm pretty sure it gives them a little bit of better AI so they can actually, track out and find somebody. The second fragment is Thread of Generation. This will make it so when you damage people, you'll get grenade energy back, making for a lot more grapples. Then the third fragment is Thread of Ascent. This gives you a crazy amount of buffs whenever you use your grapple, as well as reloading your weapon. This fragment will give you 40 handling, 40 reload speed, and 30 in-air effectiveness for 15 seconds anytime you use your grapple, which is super, super strong, getting all those buffs. Then the last one is sort of a user's pick. Thread of Binding is nice for the resilience that it gives in making the super a little bit better. Thread of Warning will give you Woven Mail, which is always a little bit helpful and great for survivability. Then lastly, Thread of Rebirth is great if you're using a strand primary weapon to get more threadlings on the field. Speaking of weapons, let's talk about those real quick. My favorite weapons to pair with this subclass are the damage over time weapons such as Thord and Le Monarch. They are very, very strong. The reason for this is because normally when you shoot somebody with a gun, it will send off 1 threadling that's perched to you, but with Thorn, it will send off 2, and Le Monarch, it will actually send off 3 just because of the dot AoE. Overall, making for some crazy pressure in 1v1 situations, but you don't really need to use these weapons. It just helps a little bit more with the build. Personally, like I said, I love Thorn. That is my favorite hand cannon of all time, so it just complements the build so well. But if you like to use Igneous, Kvostov, all that works beautifully with this build as well. In terms of armor stats, I recommend you build into Strength, Recovery, then Resilience. Try to get that Resil at least to 7, and then dump everything else into Discipline. In terms of mods, for your helmet, just put targetings for your primary and special weapons. For your arms, put a reloader for your primary and dexterity mods for your special and primary if you have room for that. For chests, just run 2 to 3 unflinchings for your primary. For your legs, just use a better already, a recuperation, and an absolution for all those healing whenever you pick up an orb, as well as a little bit of cooldown. Then for your class item, just run 1 Reaper and 2 Bomber. Realistically, you're going to get your melees back so quickly, you might as well run something to help you get your grenade back a little bit faster as well. Now let's talk about the playstyle of this build. With Strand Warlock, you really want to focus on playing your primary as much as you can. Realistically, as long as you don't get one shot, you can pretty much get out of any situation with Weave Walk. So if you are playing your primary and staying out of range of shotguns and fusion rifles and whatnot, it makes it very easy to do that. As long as you don't get sniped, you're pretty good. But then with Weave Walk, at the very least, even if you slide out into a sniper lane, as long as they don't dome you immediately, even if you hit them with 1 or 2 primary shots, you can Weave Walk out, making it for just a super, super great counter as long as you play ranges, like I said. As well as if you're playing ranges, you're tagging them with your Threadlings, so then it makes them a little harder to push you. Though the Threadlings aren't as strong as they used to be, they still do a decent chunk of damage and can still hurt players and prevent them from healing. And then also the big reason that this class has picked up so much popularity is because you can pretty much just tank all the hunter's abilities. They pop a clone, you pop Weave Walk, you walk into it. They throw a swarm grenade at you, you pop a clone, and you suck it up. You're pretty much just playing Minesweeper and just running around and just collecting all the random abilities and just eating them up for free, essentially, because your cooldown is way lower than their cooldown. And like I said earlier in the video, make sure you focus on your melee cooldowns. Just try to keep at least 1 to help build up your other ones, because the second and third charges come back so much faster no matter what strength you're running. In terms of super, I'm not really going to sugarcoat it. The super is awful, and the worst part of the Strand Warlock's kit, for whatever reason, it just whiffs when you hit people point blank. It tracks terribly. It's just not very good, but I do have a few tips for you to help you out with it a little bit. From my experience, using it at a mid-range helps a little bit more with the hit detection. If you get too close, sometimes they'll be too close to track onto you, and if you use it from too far, it will almost never track onto them. Be sure to use your Weave Walk to make it so you can get into a good situation. You can't necessarily pop your super as soon as you exit the Weave Walk, but you can pop it pretty quickly, and then as well as after you cast your super, you can also pop your Weave Walk so you can get away, because typically you want to kind of make it so you're a little bit more in the open to cast your super and hit them with it. So you kind of need to like jump up in the air, fire your super, and then try to cast your Weave Walk immediately. It typically helps you live a lot more. And also remember, you want to try to have 3 to 5 Threadlings on you at all times. Realistically, you're gonna have your melee as a lot, and even if you're in spawn or no one's around you and you have 3 melee charges, just pop your Weave Walk for a couple seconds, get a couple Threadlings. Like I said, they aren't as deadly as they used to be, but they're still fantastic part of the kit, and just overall will net you free kills every now and then, or even, like I said, just prevent players from healing. But that's overall a pretty quick update on the build. I highly recommend you try it out. It's fantastic for this current meta, and if you have any questions, put them down below. I'll be sure to answer them as best I can. And if you did enjoy the video, please remember to like and subscribe, as it does help out with the channel a lot. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.